It's now 7 minutes after 8. Welcome back. It's time for us to focus on your money. On Tuesdays, we look at your money and matters finance. But let's start with a few stories where Daniel Sinket, a former high school teacher, resigned and started engaging in agribusiness. Starting with capital of 20,000 Kenyan shillings, he embarked on a venture of farming various crops in a 15-acre farm. Then he now exports crops to Netherlands. Here is his story.
My name is Daniel Sinket. I hail from Kitengela, Kajiado County. I'm a businessman. I do agribusiness. I started this kind of business fully in 2009. Although I started it while doing another job, that is, I was a teacher. I started with 1 acre, and in 2009 is when I went to full business, because I enlarged it from 1 acre to 15 acres. Right now, I am a retired teacher, or resigned teacher rather, because I left my job before I attained my retirement age. In this area of Kitengela or Kajiado County, I can say all types of crops can do well. Where there is water, you can produce any type of vegetable. But basically, I do tomatoes. We do hybrid tomatoes or improved seed tomatoes. We also do skuma wiki, improved. We also do cabbages. We do capsicum. We do brinjals. We do all types of crops. Even French beans. We have also tried French beans. For 2 years, we have done French beans, and they are much paying. They do very well. I used to visit another farm in Isinya called Foraja Latia, and I found them using technology. I found them using drip irrigation, and they did overhead irrigation sprinklers, and they were also dealing with the hybrid seeds or improved seeds. That's where I got the motivation to do mine. I didn't go for any formal training. But what we did is we used to go for internship, or sometimes they used to give us trainings, like the seed companies can call for a training of hours or 1-day training. We also get trainings from ISIPE, such groups like ISIPE. They give us trainings. So that's where I found a lot of knowledge in doing what I'm doing today. The money we get from the sale of our produce, we reinvest. We reinvest again by improving the land, or by improving our way of handling the crops. Like for instance, we continuously buy more drip lines, and we buy improved seeds. We keep on improving them, and we also do such things like fertigation, and that's reinvesting into our farms. We also do some diversification. We do animal keeping, like for instance, we can buy steers for fattening, and we also have some groupings. Like for us now, we have a registered groups called Pastoralists Pulses Growers Union, and we also invest in that. In other words, we go around the country to tell all pastoralist country to tell people to get into farming, and specifically pulses, that is seeds like beans, peas, cowpeas, and so on. So we invest in the same agriculture. We just want to improve further on technology. We want to invest more in food handling. We want to invest more in safety of the food, that is giving the consumers the very safe food. We can only do this by improving technology. I face a lot of challenges. One of them is the cost of seeds. The seeds that we use, like the hybrid or the most improved, the F1 seeds, are very costly. Right now we use seeds from Starcare, and they are very expensive. We also use like Asila, we use like Rio Grande, like Eden seeds. These are F1 seeds. They are very productive. They yield very highly, but they are also very costly. Another challenge is the chemicals. The chemicals are also very expensive, and not just very expensive, but they are very toxic. And we do not know at times whether the source of these chemicals are something that can be, we can assure our customers that they are very safe. In the next 5 years, I see myself packaging goods ready for the market. I'll not seeing myself moving in from or moving out from selling the produce or as raw materials to now be packaging and then selling direct to the consumers, like export direct from this farm or packaging, ticketing direct to the supermarkets. That's where we want to be in the next 5 years.
All right, and it's now 13 minutes after 8 o'clock, and joining me in studio, we have Stanley Ngugi, who is a financial consultant and also a personal finance expert. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Michael.
Good to have you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
Okay, let's start with our dear friend there, Daniel Sinket, basically running a business, and sometimes we are forced to run businesses out of circumstances.
Yes.
And he decided to go into agribusiness.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on agribusiness?
I think that agribusiness, for me, I love any business that is producing something that is mandatory for consumers. And food is mandatory. Everyone must eat.
They say that if in food business, you're definitely on the right track because people must eat regardless of the economy.
Regardless, people must eat. And the beauty of food is that you don't eat once a week. You have to basically eat as often as possible, or you must eat on a daily basis. So for him, if he's doing a if he's doing good product, I'm happy to see him grow. One thing that I will say is that he says that he will see himself maybe packaging the goods and selling them direct to consumer. What I will say is that for him to remember that that's a totally different business from agribusiness. Now that is, he's entering into food processing.
Okay.
So he should also think about, am I already in a good business, and how will that transition into another different business actually affect me?
Doesn't one actually, make more money if you add, what do you call it, value
addition? Yeah, I mean, yes, if that is the business you intended to go into in the first place. So it's like, it's like you are doing a matatu business and then all of a sudden you turn it into a tours and travel. As long as you're prepared for that shift and you know that these two businesses work in a different way, and they require different resources and different capital, then that's fine. But you shouldn't say that because I'm a very good farmer, now I want to get into food processing.
It's
so
a totally
different business, and you should have that in mind. So that's what I was thinking as I was watching that last piece.
Okay, we'll come to mobile money transfers and the charges that have been imposed after the budget, but your thoughts on agribusiness, specifically for the younger generation, because there's a time where agriculture was viewed as a profession for those who've retired. Basically, you're tired and that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
But that has changed over time. We have quite a number of young people getting into agriculture and making good money out of it.
Yeah, I think it's just part of just responding to the demand. A lot of, since we started this craze of buying land and building apartments, a lot of the land that used to be used for agriculture and food production has actually been used now for housing. So what has happened is that food production is kind of like tending to become scarce. And what young people are realizing now is, kazi ni kazi. It doesn't matter where you get your earning, as long as it is working for you. But also, it's interesting that they are using their education and their technological know-how to kind of enrich the business. So it's not the old school type of farming, subsistence farming. So you see that they are more concentrating on, let's put up some greenhouses, let's have drip irrigation, and so on. So just making it a bit more effective using their education. For me, what I will say is that's wonderful, because the reason we go to school is not just so that we can get into the careers that we studied. Actually, a lot of people don't do that. The reason we go to school is so that we can enrich whatever business or whatever employment we get into. You could see that there's a person who has studied IT and they end up doing agribusiness. But that IT is actually helping the agribusiness to grow.
All right.
One of the things that I would like to say is that for this new generation of of farmers, if I may call them that, to understand that there's a difference between farming, ile ukulima, and agribusiness. And again, these are two different skill sets. One is about growing things, and the other one is about business.
Selling the things that you've grown.
Exactly. And sometimes those are two different things. So you can be in agribusiness, but you're not a farmer. So that's an interesting distinction.
How would I be in agribusiness yet I'm not a farmer? Would that be equivalent to a broker?
And you know, there's nothing wrong. We've vilified this thing of being a broker. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being a broker.
It's just that the brokers seem to make more money than the actual farmer. Because, but anyway, you know, is that how you need the two?
For me, yeah. You know what? Broker, I don't know why we've made the word broker an ugly word. A middleman is an essential part of this value chain for food. So let the person who is farming concentrate on farming and growing and making good produce. And then let the person who's good at selling and has the contacts in the market, let them also enjoy their piece of the share. You know,
I think the reason why it has been vilified is because of the amount of money they make as opposed to the farmer. Yet, the farmer is the one who literally sweats.
Yeah. I mean, even the broker sweats, you know. And here, maybe I'll be vilified also. I'll be called a broker. But I want to just appreciate that the middlemen also do a very critical piece because they are basically supplying the farmers with the cash flow that they need, and they are making sure that the farmer doesn't have to spend so much time going to sell, but they can actually concentrate on farming.
On farming.
Yeah.
All right, and that's agribusiness. I'm sure we'll have another time where we can talk about it at length. But today we'd like to talk about money transfers and some little bits of money that you spend without necessarily thinking about it. Now, with the budget being read, there are certain charges that were imposed, and we may not be aware, or we might be aware, but might not have thought through it. For instance, I do have a notice here from my bank which says, "Dear client, in line with the Finance Bill 2018, please note that from 1st of July, which is already past, 2018, the bank will collect 0.05% tax on transfers of 500,000 shillings or more."
Yes.
So what does that mean?
It means...
apart from the fact that I'm paying, again, for sending money to somebody.
Yes. I think let's start from the beginning. Where is this coming from? Okay. The government must be able to fund its work and its projects. I don't want to touch on where the money goes. I just want to say that the government needs money to
come up with a budget, and
it has to be funded. Aside, and those funds must come from us, the Kenyan citizen. And the government this year, especially, it has come under a lot of pressure from the IMF to collect money in a stronger way. So they are really pushing the taxation. And one of the places that they know they can find us is when we are transferring money. Because Kenya, especially mobile money, we are very good at that. I think we are among the top countries in the world when it comes to mobile money.
Mobile money transfers.
So it is a natural thing. It just means that if you're transferring over 500,000, we're talking about you'll be paying 0.05% tax.
On that.
And just to note, this is over and above the fees that you would have actually paid. So that's just tax, not the bank.
That's tax that's going to the government.
Yes.
But you still obviously pay the bank charges, depending on your bank, whatever amount they charge for that.
Yes. So as people are even looking at this 0.05%, which I think is what, 2,500, that's just the tax. Your bank is still going to charge you the normal fees. So basically what we are saying is that we should be looking at this small budget amount is actually going to start becoming bigger and bigger. Just transfer fees. It's good.
And that's on 500,000 shillings. And maybe they're not, I don't know how many Kenyans actually transfer 500,000 shillings. But when it comes to mobile money, we are also being taxed on that.
Yes, I think that the government may even get more benefit, not from the 500,000, but actually from 1,000, 2,000, because now we do a lot of those. And what I want to bring to the consciousness of Kenyans is that many times we don't think about these small, M-Pesa charges, 27 bob, 30 bob. You don't think about it. But it is actually ending up to be a very big amount. A very big amount, because when you think about it, if you're going to be, the tax has now gone up from, I think, 10 to 12%, which means that on every transaction, there's like a 10%, there's a 12% that is going into taxation. You don't think about it, but this actually ends up eating into, your household budget. I want to say, and I think I've said this before on this seat, that there is no such thing as small money. It is actually that small money that is coming together and is making the big money, the millions. So if we can be a bit more careful on this bank or even mobile money transaction fees, it's very important. To the extent that a few years ago, we had, it was put into law that the mobile providers must tell you the fee beforehand, because people were transacting without knowing. But I don't know whether people know why that message now pops up. It's just to bring it to your consciousness that you're going to send 1,000 bob, there's going to be like a fraction that will go to someone else.
To somebody else. And maybe help us understand fully small amounts of money. I think there's an English saying that some people are penny wise and pound foolish. So we may count the pennies but forget the big amount. But for us, it's normally the other way around.
Yes.
We may care about the huge amounts, but these small amounts do add up. And the reason why we have mobile money companies that deal with that, make lots of money, is because we don't think about it. However, if you have a statement maybe at the end of the year of how much you've spent purely on transfer, not sending the money, not the amount that you send, but how much you're charged, maybe then that would knock some sense into it.
Well, let me start by saying, I'm going to say two things about small money and big money. The first thing is that what is 1 million shillings made of? It is made of
small.
It is actually made of 1 million one bobs. Okay, you can think about one bobs aligned together. So 1 million does not exist without 1 shilling. So there is no such thing as big money. It is this small one bob that actually make the big money. If we can learn, this is the second thing, if we can learn to take care of the small money, then you will be able to take care of the big money. So if we are thinking mobile money, even if it is 20 bob, what can you do to save that 20 bob? I was just as I was thinking about this topic this morning, I was thinking that if, for example, you have 4,000 shillings that you want to send to someone, it is actually cheaper, about 11 shillings cheaper, to send 3K on its own and then 1K on its own.
It'll save you 11 bob.
It'll save you 11 bob. So those are the type of things that we need to start thinking about. How am I going to send this money? And maybe, do I even need to send this money? What if I already, sometimes we already have money in the pocket, but we are preferring to send money, not realizing that there's a cost.
There's a cost.
And there's actually a double cost. Because if I send you, Michael, money, I will pay a certain amount, but also you, when you go to withdraw, you will also
pay a certain amount.
You'll also pay a certain amount.
There are those who concentrate na pia utume ya kutoa.
Yes. I used to be very generous na pesa ya kutoa, but now
you think twice.
I'm thinking twice. Let's share. Okay. Let's share the cost.
After all, I'm sending you the money.
Yes.
Okay. Now, somebody might logically say, especially with technology now, you have your bank account linked to your telephone number or to your phone. Therefore, I need not to go to the bank to withdraw. And even when I withdraw from the ATM, for example, I am charged a certain amount. So sometimes it may be cheaper to actually just do the bank transfer from the bank to my phone to you. What would you look at in terms of that logic? How would you look at it?
Okay, so it is wonderful that these products have given us a lot of convenience. I've just come from a place where they don't use mobile money a lot, and it's very inconveniencing if I need to send money to someone, I have to go to the bank. But here in Kenya, I think sometimes we can abuse that convenience. What do I mean by that? If you have a choice between sending someone some money, maybe via M-Pesa or whatever, think about what will be the cost of actually going to an M-Pesa and withdrawing, or even going to a bank ATM and withdrawing. A bank ATM, it will be 20 or 30 shillings. Let's say if we are here and we are thinking about going to the closest bank is about 10 kilometers away. If I'm driving, how much will that cost? So if it will cost me more money to go there and then come back and give you the money, then it makes sense. But if you're just doing it for the convenience and there's an M-Pesa downstairs that you could just walk to, then now you've started abusing that convenience. And remember, convenience is not free. Convenience, you must always pay. Whenever you see anything that is convenient, you must pay.
There's a price.
That's why the mama mboga outside your house, when you think about it, is a bit more expensive than a wholesaler or even sometimes a supermarket. Because the thing she's offering is not just the product, but the convenience.
The fact that you're getting it outside your doorstep.
Absolutely, and you must pay for that convenience. So let us not rationalize it. Let us actually do the mathematics. Again, I've said on this chair before, the numbers don't lie.
They don't lie.
Yes.
Okay, now for me to be efficient and ensure that I'm frugal, how do I need to change my thinking towards money? Because you started by saying that there is no big money and no small money. However, many of us probably feel that there is small money. There's money that is, you know, pocket change that you can just use anyhow.
Yes, and I think, no, that's a very big misconception, and that is one of the things that can keep you in a trap of poverty, because there's no money that you can afford to lose. Okay? Because if you call it small money and you can do, you know, hata ikipotea hata kama ni 20 bob, ni 30 bob, it can get lost. That is now the slippery slope that leads you into poverty, because you are not respecting your money. You should actually, for wealthy people, they are even more conscious about
the pennies.
Those pennies, as opposed to the big money. You'll find someone has 10 million in the bank account, and if they notice a weird bank charge on their statements, they will actually go to the bank and say, you know, I noticed that there's 100 shillings here. What was this charged for? But for a lot of people, when they get their bank statements or their M-Pesa statements or whatever, they don't even look at them. You know, you get it on the first of the month, and then you're like, oh, ni ile email imeingia. You don't look at it, you don't peruse it, and you don't chambua to see, you know, what are these fees, and you'll be surprised that you're being charged for example, I wanted to deposit some money from my M-Pesa to my bank account. And I realized that I was being charged 220 shillings to deposit money.
To get that?
To, you know, M-Pesa to my bank.
And is that by your mobile provider or by the bank?
So it is by my bank, okay? It is like, I think, for me, I think there's a partnership, and there's a way they split that money. I don't know. But all I know is that there's 220 shillings, and it left my pocket, and it went to it went to somebody else who was not me. And then I thought, wait, is my bank, how far is my bank? What if I just go and deposit it direct, you know, on the counter? And you know, there are also some banks that charge you for using the counter. So what is that charge? If the charge is 100 bob, and I'll be charged on mobile money, I'll be charged to 20, that's a no-brainer. Let me save my 100 shillings. Yes, that's the way we should be thinking.
Okay, one might say that then it becomes very difficult to save those pennies, because like you mentioned, the 4,000 transfer, it is 11 shillings cheaper to do 3,000 and 1,000. But now who's going to sit down and do those mathematics? I mean...
You have to. I did. You have to. There's no other. You know, that's the difference between someone who is money conscious and financially literate versus someone who is not conscious about their money. It is the person who goes that extra step to do that calculation that no one else would do. The other person will just say, oh, it's convenient, I don't mind. It's just 200 shillings. But there's another person who will now go the extra mile. Let me give you an example, though now it is not allowed. I was being told of a story of someone who wanted to send 5,000 shillings, okay? And they realized that, you know, if you send over, for some mobile provider, if you send over less than 100 shillings, it is free. So they decided to send 100 bob, 100 bob 50 times.
Oh my goodness.
Now, okay, obviously now it has been blocked. Now you can only do three of those transactions a day. But he actually sat down and atuma 2 mia. And that would have saved him maybe like 100 bob or 150. But still, that's someone who is thinking about
the pennies, and is thinking about those little monies. Then would it be accurate to say that there are some companies that literally exploit our laziness?
I wouldn't say exploit. I think exploit is a very heavy word. I think that they offer us a service and we pay for that service without thinking much about it, okay? The word exploit would mean that they are taking advantage of us. They are not taking advantage of us. If I offer you a service to shine your shoes and I charge you 1,000 shillings to shine your shoes, and you're willing to pay me 1,000 shillings, can you blame me? No, I'm just a
service provider.
I'm just a service provider.
And if was found a willing buyer.
Willing buyer, willing seller. Okay. So what I am saying is, if I charge you 1,000 shillings to polish your shoes, Michael, at least try and push back on it, or try and be clever about it, or maybe even move, because I know not all mobile providers are the same. Some give very affordable rates, and some are even offering these transaction fees for free. It's just that they are a bit less convenient. But how much are we paying for?
The convenience.
For that convenience.
All right, and that brings me now to the next point where we look at it's not just mobile money or bank transfers that cost us. What other areas could possibly be costing us small little amounts of money that we don't think about, but at the end of the year, it definitely adds up?
It adds up. For example, a good place is where do you shop, okay? For me, I always try and compare the prices in different, for example, supermarkets. And the difference may be that, I'm buying a certain cooking oil from this supermarket and it's 5 bob cheaper. But over the course of the year, those 5 bob actually add up. So I'm usually very conscious as to which supermarket I am buying from. And even to the extent of which product. If it is tissue paper, well, it serves the same purpose. If you can get the good value tissue paper for 10 shillings less, it may be 10 shillings, but if you repeat that 10 shillings over 100 times or over 1,000 times, it actually adds up. So the first thing I'm going to say is shopping. The other thing is transport. And here I'm talking about specifically time, the time that we travel. And everyone knows this. If you wake up a bit earlier, sometimes the matatus are cheaper. And it is not cheaper. Maybe it is matatu kama ni 50 bob. If you wake up earlier, it may be 40 or 30. Now that may seem, again, like small money, but as we said, there's nothing like small money. It adds up over time. So there are a multitude of these places where the money can actually, it piles up slowly. And what people end up asking themselves is, where did my money go? So a lot of people, and I'm sure the viewers watching will have that sensation. Where did my money go? It went into those 2 small holes that you weren't looking at.
All right, maybe on financial intelligence, help us understand how to think through our finances, specifically to ensure we're not losing money unnecessarily. Because like you mentioned, sometimes we are paying for a convenience, and sometimes it is cheaper to have that convenience. For example, if I needed to give you 5,000 shillings right now, it might be cheaper for me to do my transfer from the bank than to drive to an ATM, then drive back or get into a matatu to an ATM and come back. But help us think through so that when we are thinking through our finances, somehow we are not leaving some of those details that cost us.
I think, and obviously you have to also measure the value of your time. So you're not just looking at the fuel to the ATM and back. So if I was to go, it would take me an hour. What is the value of that hour to me?
What can I do with that 1 hour if I save that time?
And if it is not just sitting around and watching TV, then maybe I can consider it like that. But I think financial intelligence for me is about being conscious about your money and controlling your money and knowing where it is going, exactly where it is going. So it's about watching every single coin and knowing that it went where you wanted it to go. So if it is going to a mobile money provider, let it go, but you're the one who allowed it to go. Financial intelligence is about that, making sure that you're the one who is driving your money as opposed to your money driving you. If you're going to pay 220 shillings to deposit into your bank account, be aware of that and choose it. So what I'm saying here is a lot of us are doing it automatically, but we have to bring in an element of choice. Did I choose for this money to go? Part of that is tracking your money on a daily basis or a monthly or weekly basis, knowing where it went, and part of that is just making those decisions at a conscious level. Okay, is it cheaper to go to the ATM versus sending this person, via M-Pesa, for example? Is it cheaper to deposit in this bank, or is it cheaper to deposit in this other bank? Because that's the other thing that I do. Some of us have multiple bank accounts. I will ask you, Michael, which bank are you, which bank do you bank with? Which bank do you bank with? Because if I have a similar bank, I find that internal bank transfers, like for example, with one of the banks, internal bank transfers are free. So I will ask you, instead of M-Pesa, do you have, a bank account here? Just do it internally, and that's free. So those are the kind of things I want people to be aware of. Don't do things automatically.
Okay. As we wind up, how does the discipline for watching the small amounts of money help me eventually? Because you mentioned something that even those who possibly are wealthy, who have acquired their wealth in the right manner.
Yes.
Most of the times they're very frugal. In fact, they're confused for being mean.
Yes.
They're confused for being very tight-fisted. But maybe they're just, conscious of their money.
Interestingly, it is that a lot of people consider it to be mean or misery. But I think it is that very reason that they become rich. It is that thing.
They're able to accumulate.
Because they have held their money and they are the ones who are controlling it. It is not about being mean. So that's where the discipline comes in. It is not a bad thing. It is actually the thing that causes them to be wealthy. They know where their money goes, and they are the one who have even sent it there very intentionally.
Okay.
So that's what the discipline does.
All right.
Yeah.
Your rule of thumb as we wind up, your closing comment and advice possibly on how we can ensure that we watch those pennies, because they add up at the end of the year.
Yeah. Take control of your money. Don't let your money control you. Don't think and do things automatically. Make sure you're conscious about it. And finally, track it. Track it, know how much it is. And if there are small rules like the send 3,000 and then 1,000, do those small things. They will actually save you a lot.
But again, like you mentioned, you need to value your time, because if it's going to cost me time to do the below 100 shillings times 50 times, then again, there's a time element there.
Yeah, I think that in all of that, you must also consider not just transport cost and transaction cost, but also what is the value of the time. And if you're going to save 1 hour, fine, save the 1 hour. But the question is, what did you do with the 1 hour?
Okay,
did you just go back to bed?
Well, like they say, time is money.